continue what we started earlier today, speaking of the magnificence of the soul. In summary, it was an interesting validation in one way that the soul exists because most humans believe it does, because it's innate, it's intuitive. And we mentioned that almost all those who claim to have systems of belief include the soul. And so humans understand that there's something higher than themselves. Now, in that, there is now controversy and dissension about what that is. Believe it or not, there are those who say it is untouchable. It is too sacred for you to have. The fact that you have it at all would be a mystery to those who would say that. For if it's untouchable, why would you have it? And that then begs the next question. What's it for? Dear ones, the soul is here for you to ally with. This is part of the plan. That plan that puts you here in a corporeal body gives you duality and asks you to find the core truths of life. And you have. So many have. Interestingly enough, those who you would call the indigenous before modern times had most of those core truths. And through time and a de-evolvement yet again, you've lost them. Now it is time for you to regain them, except now there are billions on the planet involved. And now starts a kind of a civilization you've never had before, where the entire planet in what you call mainstream is invited to participate. And the participation is in that with an alliance with the soul. Now that alliance, we're going to give another name, and you've heard it before, and that is conscious evolvement. You're going to start evolving, and in that evolvement, the things that you're going to see, the words that are going to come to your mind that would define it, would be more integrity, transparency, kindness, benevolence, compassion. That these would then begin to get far, far higher ratings than jealousy, hate, anger. And that'll be a first. If you have looked at sociology, and if you've studied that which is human consciousness, you will see that the things that are seemingly most important all through humanity, the things that get the most attention, is the drama, is the hatred, is the jealousy. And those things then lead to actions that will challenge duality to the max. And that is when lives are taken. Over and over for eons and eons, these are the emotions and the attributes that have won. They're the ones above all the others. And suddenly I am telling you that new assignments of importance for humanity are coming from the words that I used before. And there are those who will laugh and say, good luck with that, Kryon. Because they still see a planet in trouble. They still see a planet that is consumed with the competition, the hatred, the problems, the fighting, all of those things. Dear ones, you have a planet that is starting to move and to change. You're starting to see it in your societies with the certain movements that are there, with the things that are starting to be seen that have always been there, but suddenly they're not appropriate anymore. You're seeing things that that may have been there forever, that you perhaps assumed would always be there, and there's nothing you could do about them. And suddenly there is something you can do about them, and you're starting to seemingly clean it up. This is the evolvement of human consciousness. Slow, starts with first world countries, and then spreads out because consciousness is worldwide. And the evolvement of it is you starting to get closer to that which is your soul. You are the ones who separated yourself initially from that which is the soul. We talked about it earlier this morning. That soul of yours comes from that place of the Creator, and you called God. That soul of yours is not separate from the Creator, from God. It isn't. We made some statements and have all along that God sees you as itself. God has put you corporally surrounded by this multidimensional energy called a soul. Some of you have started to understand and hook up something we have talked about before. Hook up meaning you have put it together, connected the dots. When I told you about Elijah, the only human being in human history to ever have his ascension recorded. Recorded, that is, written down, observed, written about. Something that became even scripture. When Elisha documented Elijah's ascension, you got to see his soul. First time. Elijah, we have told you so many times, walked into the field and turned into light. A huge ball of energy, so different looking, so bright that even Elijah could not describe it. He gave it a metaphoric idea of a chariot being drawn by 3 white horses. All of those things mean other things, dear ones. They're all metaphors of spirituality. You got to see Elijah claim his soul and move off of earth. That's what happened. This is present in every single human being, every single one. I want to show and tell a little bit about what happens to this soul of yours when a corporeal body becomes part of it. The indigenous knew the first thing that happens is that that body of yours, that corporeal consciousness of yours, starts to interface with the grids of the planet. These grids we have spoken of ever since we arrived. All of them. There are so many kinds of grids because there are so many gifts for humanity. The crystalline grid which remembers things for you. The ancestral grid, which is the wisdom grid of the planet, which lays there ready for you to take from it. The magnetic grid, which helps to posture that which is the energy of consciousness. That is measurable. It is physics. Of all of the grids, that is the one that you are so much aware of, that my partner has taught and told you about. There's the Gaia grid. So let's talk about that one. All of these grids exist for humans. They don't exist for any other reason. What does that tell you about the honoring and the respect for humanity from God? Duality has always been with you, and we've given you several channels recently about that. It's not a struggle, it's a gift. It's a gift for you to soar above that which you thought was the highest of high, in order to take you on a journey, if you wish, of evolvement, so you can start to touch the face of your soul, which you have called your higher self. That word, higher self, has many other words in many other languages, even in some spiritual systems. An acknowledgement that you, as you sit in the chair, as you listen to this, might have some part of you which knows everything, which has all the answers that you could ever ask. Some of them you don't even know how to ask. They're beyond the ability to think about because they're not in your paradigm. All is known by that higher self. There is a connection when you get here between that which is your corporeal self, your higher self, and an entity called Gaia. The planet lives. It's alive. In so many ways, you might say the planet has a soul of its own, a kind of soul. It is alive in the fact that it lives and breathes to support you. First thing, we gave you information, is that everything that's ever happened goes right into the planet, into the various grids that we have spoken of, especially the ancestral and the crystalline, that you have actually imbued the knowledge of your lifetimes on the planet. And when you leave, dear ones, and come back, that lifetime you lived stays here in a certain way. It stays here. It stays here not in a spooky way. It stays here as wisdom of being here. What did you learn? What happened while you were here? What emotions were most important? All into that which is the crystalline and ancestral grid. Some of the indigenous on the planet have a ceremony. And we've told you about this, and it tells everything. And it goes like this. They'll go to a place that's beautiful, that's serene, where they can feel the sun on them. And they stoop down and they pick up a little bit of dirt and they put it upon their mouth and they taste it. And in that moment they will tell you this, that all of the wisdom of their ancestors is theirs. Because the dirt of the earth is Gaia. And although it might seem metaphoric, I'll tell you that it isn't. That is core truth. That is one of the ways you get in touch with even that which is your past existence, which is in this crystalline and ancestral grid, dear ones. It interfaces with the Gaia grid, all of them together. Are you? Now I'm asking you, where is that in the spiritual systems of today? It's gone. That's de-evolvement, dear ones, of consciousness. At what point in time did you decide to throw away the most important connection you could ever have? That's starting to reoccur. More and more of those who are starting to understand the connection with their soul are coming to that acknowledgement of being connected with the dirt. Perhaps not as profoundly as the indigenous, for that's all they had, but profound enough. The understanding of it is all you need to start connecting with something that was designed to help you every day of your life. Design. Imagine being in touch with ancestral wisdom. Imagine being in touch at some level with yourself. How many lifetimes have you lived? At some level, that Akash of yours is shared with Gaia. It's all there. An evolvement of consciousness is a humanity that starts to return to indigenous core truth and understand that. For when you start connecting with the planet through your higher self and your soul, there will be no more war. For you will see the dysfunction of all of it. No spiritual belief system on this planet of billions of people have even one chapter that has anything to do with that. This is the change that we tell you is starting to occur. Not that those spiritual systems will include it, but there's going to be intuition that will. Even those who will claim to be a certain thing in a spiritual system will cling to the idea soon that the planet has to be involved in their existence. And even though it may not be a platform of belief, it will be theirs. You can be both if you wish. You can be a good whatever and still love the earth and still hug a tree and feel that energy flow through you. It does not fly in the face of any doctrine. It does not say that you're wrong. It doesn't say that you've done something inappropriate. That is coming. And when it does, I'll tell you that there starts to be an increase in all those words I gave you, reviewing the words I gave you. Transparency, integrity, love, benevolence, compassion. These are going to start becoming the new words of how to live because of the connection you have with your higher self and the earth. There are many things going on right now on the planet that are esoteric, that are starting to push information to you. We've talked about the nodes and the nulls. We've given you many channelings, one in particular, while in a place called Peru. Go find out and go listen to what has happened, because they're all matched up, and it is a system, a push and pull energy that literally scrubs away things that are inappropriate and dark, starting to expose them in a way that light will then win over darkness. And that is what is slowly happening. But that's not all. There has got to be a decision, a real life decision, for you to start looking at the planet differently. Perhaps going out into the field, perhaps even putting a little dirt on your mouth. The idea, the metaphor, that you are connecting with not only yourself and the wisdom of you, but all of those ancestors who have so much to give you. That's the cycle that is coming. It is a cycle of remembrance and teaching, of realization that you're going to have. That's the next step. Oh, there are other steps, dear ones. But that's the first, returning to a connection with this planet. Before I close, I'll tell you, there's a lot more of these channelings about your soul. And I'll give them as things occur on the planet, as reminders. When countries start moving together instead of apart, it's starting to happen in certain countries. That is the recognition of those things I told you, which suddenly are more important than separation. An understanding of togetherness, of kindness, where there never was before. Watch for these things, and you'll know I'm right. Oh, but there's a big one. I'm going to close with this. How many souls are there? And the answer, again, is yes. Uncountable. You only have a few on this planet. They're all over. They're all over this galaxy, all over this universe, although we stick to this galaxy because it's unique in the chemistry, the physics, and the rules. You're apt to find those like you here in this galaxy. And so we stick with that, trillions of you. And what did we tell you the soul really was? It's not apart from God, is it? Not really. That soul, you might say, is an extension of peace. You don't understand how this can be because you don't understand the essence of God. Pure love, pure benevolence. That's what God is. If that is God, that is a God that cannot hate, a God that cannot then torture or judge. Think about that. But think of this. If there are trillions upon trillions of souls in this galaxy, in places that you don't even know of, many of whom are corporeal, if that's the case, why don't you sense each other? You came from the same source. Now that is another story. Those who have gone into that which is graduate status, who truly have captured the essence of their higher self on other places and other planets and other systems, who have become then very high consciousness, have gone into the ability to move out of a corporeal body. Those who some of you even might mistake as angels because you don't know any better. They exist. They'll be the first ones to tell you that you have no idea what's ahead. That some of these things will go way beyond duality. You will always have duality. Free choice is yours. But there's so much more than you know that is not just going on here, but that has potentials in the field that I'm telling you that is there to sense. Oh, I'll say it again. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You have just begun. 2012 just happened. But already you start to see the results. What's really, truly, physically happening? You are becoming closer and closer to that which belongs to you and always has. The splendor and beauty of your own soul, your higher self. And that's special. Born magnificent for this reason. And so it is.